Hello, welcome back to Chronicles of an Autistic Gamer, where I'm basically just chronicling what I am going through currently as a newly found out autistic 38-year-old adult. Haven't made a video in, I don't know, probably close to a couple weeks, but a lot's been going on, and thought this was as good a time as any to just check in on what's been going on, and what I've been thinking about a lot, and just talking about in therapy and stuff. And I think it's less what has been going on and more about what has been talked about in therapy and what I've been thinking about. I think one of the biggest things recently, I've been going out. I mean, the same amount as I have before, as I kind of explained in previous videos. I have a small group of friends, and kind of definitely more extroverted than me. So, but I enjoy going out, but it's just been hard sometimes. But thankfully, for the most part, I have some really good understanding people, so it's okay to kind of manage. Even before, I knew that I was autistic, but I recently planned a surprise birthday party for somebody close to me in the group, and it was really great, and it was small. I mean, there was, 7 people that were there. It was a really good night, and it's not a situation that I'm new to. Like, the people I knew, and the person's house we did it at, I was comfortable with. And I mean, yeah, it was a great night. I really have nothing bad to say about anything. It was perfect, and the party of who it was for, she really enjoyed it and was surprised. So I mean, everything went off great. But I kind of realized after how, like, the next day, that was Saturday. The following day, I was so wiped, and even though everything had been good, and I didn't really need to, like, take a break throughout the event, because I was just engaging with everybody, and actually had some pretty deep conversations with a couple people. Told them that I was actually autistic, which I think I'm going to go to in another video. It's like the whole process of essentially coming out to people. But yeah, I was super wiped the next day, and it was one of the things I talked to my therapist about, was kind of like realizing that even when everything is really good, still being exhausted. And it's something that I don't think I really put too much thought into, because not that, like, all the other events that I do, they're not good and I don't enjoy them. I just think, like, it's obvious to me, like, even on the outside, that they're going to be a little bit more stimulating, a little bit more draining, like going to, like, a club or something like that, or meeting people that I haven't met before, or that kind of thing. Like, I know that's going to take a lot out of me, but I guess I just didn't really think too much about, like, an event that I'm pretty much comfortable and don't really have to, like, definitely, obviously, still masking. I mean, 100%, but like a different level. It's like, people that I don't feel like I have to really mask a ton from, in terms of, other people. But I'm also still learning, like, what I'm even masking half the time. So maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know. That's still a work in progress, to be honest. But at least I can say people that I'm comfortable with, right? Like, that I'm okay being around and hanging out with. I was talking to her about that, and I just, yeah, I didn't really think too much about how I can still and will still be super exhausted after outings with people that essentially are like, they're not my person, because that's the only person that doesn't drain my battery is, when I have like my partner. But, that's it. So yeah, and she kind of brought up something interesting that was basically like, yeah, it sounds like you haven't been this social since you were a teenager. And I really haven't, because my past relationship was, with somebody who was very introverted and had social anxiety. And, I kind of let that dictate a lot of what I did, and I didn't really go out much. And I was very kind of like in a bubble because of it. And when I left and I met the group of people I met now, I obviously started going out more and really started recognizing a lot more of what I thought at the time was just me being super introverted, but obviously now I realize is my autism. But it's also been interesting because I feel like I'm recognizing that I had different tolerance levels when I was younger as opposed to now, and that's something I'm beginning to recognize, because I think I've been hard on myself, recently, even thinking like, oh, like there's obviously moments that I needed breaks from, and work and school were definitely things that that were really difficult for me to go through. But like when I was hanging out with friends and stuff, I felt like I didn't at least acknowledge mentally that I needed rest. Like I don't know. I spent a lot of time alone and in my room, so I guess to some extent I did, but I don't know. I'm just recognizing there's differences now with certain things, and just kind of like talking through that and recognizing that in therapy, which it's okay, but I also think I'm kind of struggling with it a little bit. Like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I just felt like, especially after that birthday party that I felt really good about, and I had such a good time. But man, like I felt like I had like just done all of the things the day before, and then I had, I was just so wiped. I mean, you know what it feels like. Your energy level is just done. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to be around anybody. I just wanted to like sleep, eat, and like watch movies, play video games, watch YouTube, like whatever it was. It just needed to just not involve anybody else. Which I think kind of brings me to the next thing that we had begun to talk about. And it's something that I was already familiar with prior, but I was not familiar with it in the autism community. But the whole spoons theory, and it's funny, when I first heard it, I was like, why spoons? And I feel like a lot of autistic people are like, why spoons? At least I've seen a lot of autistic people struggle with that analogy, which I agree with. I heard another autistic YouTuber talk about coins. I forget his name, but he's a British guy. And he mentioned it in terms of coins, and I feel like that was a really good description. And my therapist also mentioned it in terms of a battery. So with the spoons theory / coin theory, at least the coin version is the idea that, you have a certain amount of coins, aka, your social ability, not even just social, just like, just whatever it is that your energy levels to like exist in this world. There it is. The cost to exist in the world. It is your cost to exist in the world. You have a certain amount. And then every time you do things that you have to do to live, which, I mean, is something I'm also coming to terms with. I kind of wrote it down, but I see it as like there is a cost to live as an autistic person that's just not the same for everybody else. And, you know, the idea is you do something like you go to the grocery store, or you work, or you have a social event, and it costs you so many coins. And, you know, if you only have 10 coins, and, you know, the social event costs you 5, and work costs you another 4, and then you got to go to the grocery store, and that costs 1, it's like you're done. Anything past that is going to throw you into the negative, and they're going to have, you know, potentials for meltdowns and shutdowns. So it's this idea of like the balance, right? Of how do you essentially spend your coins, and then how do you gain them back? And it's like the gaining back is you resting and recuperating, and that's different for everybody. But you know, it's almost certainly, you know, at least some measure of alone time, or at least time, you know, with your person or whatever it is. But yeah, and my therapist, her example also made sense, which was the battery idea of like everybody runs off of a different type of phone. So it's like if you're an iPhone 10, you have a different battery level than an iPhone 15, and it's all fine, but just you might need different charging speeds and different, you might hold your battery for different times. So the idea is, you know, same concept, social events, going out to groceries, having to exist, whatever it is. You know, for some people, it could just be walking their dog in a city, and there's, you know, lots of noise and whatnot, and that costs, you know, a certain percentage of the battery. But whatever it is that, you know, you have to, your battery gets depleted, and you have to charge it up. So it's just this idea of that, you know, just like recharging and costs. And for me, it's I'm aware of it now in a way that I wasn't before, right? Like I didn't know that these terminologies and these things existed. So like I just did, like anybody who doesn't realize that they're autistic and they're masking and doing all this stuff, I just did stuff because it was the expectation, and whatever it cost me, I was doing. It didn't matter if it was a lot or if it was too much, and if I had a chance to take a break. I mean, I might have wanted one. I've been dying inside. I've been there hundreds of times, but you do it anyway because it's like that's what you're supposed to do. So now that I know that I'm autistic and that I have an actual need, which is what I talked about in the last video, like needs and preferences. Like I have a need to balance out my nervous system and you know, recuperate. That's a thing, and I need to be more aware of it, and I'm trying now to understand it. And excuse me, what was really interesting and something I also didn't think about was my therapist was like, yeah, you know, for her, she might have like 5 clients one day, 6 another day, and have a hockey game to go to at the end of the week, and that's too much. But if she were to have 10 clients one day and then 6 clients another day and no hockey game, she's fine. So it's like, you know, and that was just an example of like, you know, for her, she was just saying, you know, like learning that the hockey game is you know, is the determining factor of like how she'll be able to handle, like how much it's going to cost her, and can she make it work, essentially, because I have a neurodivergent therapist. So that was something else I didn't think about. I didn't think about like, oh yeah, like yeah, it was a really good night and I enjoyed everybody, but it was also like a very intense night in terms of, and it was like there was karaoke and which is super stimulating, and then there's a lot of talk or a lot of talking. It wasn't like a event where I can kind of like sit in the back because these were people that I know pretty well, so I was engaging with them a lot. And then we were talking about like pretty serious things. So there's also that to be considered. So it was like, yeah, just things I never think about. And it's learning not only what my limits are as I get older, but also, yeah, just the cost of things. Like, what's the cost of me doing that? And did I go grocery shopping earlier in the week? Or like, what was that? And just kind of really figuring it out. And it's crazy because everybody is different, and it's just a weird spot to be in. And I make it clear, I'm like super thankful to be in this spot, because before, again, I just hated myself and was confused and was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're a weirdo. This is why fucking no one wants to hang out with you and why I don't have any friends. But now it's like, no, it's because you have a brain that fucking just exists in the world in a way that does not for everybody else. And yeah, it's just you process everything differently, and that's okay. But now I need to figure out and learn what that process is for me, because it's different for everybody, for every autistic person. And that whole, adage that you hear so many times, you met one autistic person, like, we're all different. And yeah, I'm learning what my version of autism is, I think is really what it is. And I have no fucking clue what that actually is, and that's kind of what I'm trying to document through all this, is just, what is it? What does it look like for me? And yeah, I mean, I relate to a lot of people that I see online, and a lot of content creators, and I, obviously not every single thing, which is why I think it's important to have more of us out there, like, talking about it, because there's somebody out there who I know is going to relate a lot, hopefully, to some of my experiences, and will be able to see themselves in that, and the same way that I saw myself in other creators that are out there. And I can feel better about how I am, that somebody can hear my story and feel better about how they are, that maybe they didn't see in somebody else. So that's what I'm hoping for. So thank you for listening to me ramble about these things and watching me play really shitty golf. I don't know, sometimes I think I'm getting better. It is fun, though, I will admit. It's not my game that I usually play. I say that, I feel like, in every video to justify how shitty my golfing is, but I actually do really enjoy it. And it's a really pretty game, and the mechanics are actually quite easy. So if you're into this kind of stuff, highly recommend PGA 2K25, because it's actually really relaxing and a lot of fun once you figure it out. It was quite easy to figure out. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope, I hope this resonates with somebody. And see you next time. Take care of yourselves.